Alright everyone, welcome to the campfire where we're going to tell spooky stories. Who actually has something prepared?
I know I do.
So do I, man. I got the scariest story ever. I'm ready too. Let's do these.
I might get a little scared, Mario, if I do Can I, like, get closer to you?
Yeah, we're bros. We can do that. Alright, let's get this done. Let's get spooked.
Alright guys, for Halloween, this is what we're doing. Thanos, you ready? I don't get scared. I'm just here for the laughs. Sure. Okay. Well, so baby, you're just grab baby for being spooky?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so welcome everyone to Spooky Stories with the Bear Talk Gang. Alright. Guys all ready?
Yes, we are.
Alright. So, who's first?
I'll go first. So I have a spooky one I found online. By the way, we found all of these stories online. Link in the description if you want to read them on your own. Anyways, so here is my story. So it all begins where there's a man. He was younger. He used to live by the woods and can see his cemetery from the back porch. One Easter, he remembers waking up and seeing the Easter Bunny, one of those terrifying costumes. And what really gets him is he remembers smelling the wet hay. When he woke up, he didn't tell anyone, but there was an extra Easter egg in the house that the parents didn't hide. Years later, when he was in high school, he asked his parents if they ever dressed up like the Easter Bunny and came out into their room and say they would never go through so much trouble. Then his younger sister, who shared the bunk bed with him when this happened, says she remembered the Easter Bunny too and made a remark about the hay smell. He was terrified that both he and the sister remembered seeing a person dressed as a bunny in their room. To make it even stranger, he told their friends at lunch what happened. One of the girls that was in their neighborhood across the street, she told him one Easter a long time ago she looked out her window during the night and saw the Easter Bunny standing in her driveway. He had chills, and to this day he is terrified of people in rabbit costumes. Except for Bonnie, he's not scary.
Oh, that wasn't very scary, Mario.
Ooh, spooky. Alright, I wonder what that was, why you were in that man suit. That's probably what it was. So, what do you guys rate that?
3 out of 10. Wasn't very scary.
Yeah, it's just spooky. Just spooks. Okay, who's up next?
I got one. So, this one's called The Ghost Babysitter. This lady says when her niece was really young, she was in a bouncer at her sister's house. She was at the house and babysitting. She had to leave her to go to the kitchen to grab some water. Her sister's chocolate labs were probably sniffing and licking her head because she could hear her giggling like she was having a blast. She hadn't noticed how cold it'd gotten. Then she heard it, a loud wooden snap. Like a thick piece of wood had been snapped in half. Suddenly a tree has been knocked over or something. She ran into the room, and what she saw and smelled freaked her out. The dogs were huddled in the corner whimpering. Her niece was just staring at the ceiling corner with wide eyes, and it was cold. It smelled like Stetson. She took her, and she decided to go to a different room. When her sister finally came home, she told her what happened. She just rolled her eyes and said, "That is Hugh." She was confused. She said Hugh was the previous owner of the house who had died 10 years ago, before his wife sold it. She said he likes to follow her niece around. You can tell it is him because the dogs freak, it gets cold, and it smells like cheap cologne. So what do you guys think of that one?
Just a haunting. Not very scary at all.
Dude, when does the spookiness begin? Not sure. Oh, I got one, guys. Okay, so this one is called Stranger in the House. In college, I would go home every other weekend to work at the job I had since high school. I would drive directly from campus after my class on Friday to my job, about an hour. And after my shift was done, I'd go back to my parents' house, which was out in the middle of nowhere. My parents weren't yet home when I got back from work. They often spend their Friday and Saturday evenings drinking like they were ones in college. So the house was dark. And since it was mid-fall, so was the yard. Save with the yard light. I pulled into my normal parking spot, got out of the car, and then turned to open the back door of my car and get my backpack out of the back seat. That's when I noticed the bathroom light was on. Was that light on when I pulled up? Must have been, right? As I was contemplating the light and reaching for my backpack, there was suddenly a very angry-looking old woman standing in the window staring at me. We're not talking a resting face here either. She was ticked off at me, and I knew it. We stood there staring at each other for a good 10 seconds when my parents pulled into the driveway and distracted me from the stare down with the woman in the bathroom. By the time I turned back, the light was still on, but the woman was gone.
Oh, it gives me just chills talking about it.
Ooh. Spooky, man. It's very spooky stuff.
Oh man, this is kind of spooking me out. Well, I have one, guys. Let me come down so I can actually read. So this one is called When the Dead Walks the Halls.
Ooh, another haunting one.
This better be good. Oh, I assure you it is. I used to volunteer at a nursing home where we had several instances where new residents accurately described former residents down to specific nightgowns or color of glasses, who I and the staff knew had died in the room, to complain about them coming into the room at night. Then once I was walking through the hallway, and it was normally uncomfortably warm inside, but I felt a chill and goosebumps. One of the CNAs said I had just walked through a ghost. I couldn't get warm again for the rest of the day. There were flickering lights and TVs turning themselves on. Several of the staff were from the same Southeast Asian country, and they were talking about ghosts and disrespect for the dead so much that management had someone come in to do a candlelight ceremony, and this lady with crystals and dreadlocks came in to do some sage brushing. Things calmed down after that. Lights stayed on better, and the residents seemed calmer. So what do you think?
Wasn't very scary.
Well, I tried. I thought it was great house. Thanks, Bendy. Well, what do you think of Scrap Babies? She's up next. Alright, everyone. Here's what I have. This one's called This Is Why the Basement Should Stay Locked.
My mother was having dinner at a friend's house. It was a small old cottage that had been around for 100 years. She tries to find the bathroom and pulls on a door that is locked. The friend sees and says, "Sorry, that goes to the basement. The bathroom is over there." Thinking it is odd, my mother asks why the basement door is locked. It's always locked. In fact, I haven't even had a key for it. A real estate agent advised me not to go down there, and that it's not been upgraded like the rest of the cottage. It's a little more than a root cellar. Fast forward a few weeks when my mother, who works at the police department's community division, is working on a project about the history of the police department in this town. An old man comes in with new clippings about various community events, as well as a news clipping from the 50s about some gruesome murder. My mom was a bit taken aback. "Sorry, I forgot those clippings were in here too." "No, I know this address. It's my friend's house. What happened there?" "Oh," said the old man. "Well, that used to be my mother's house. She had been dating this man who was cruel to her, beat her horribly. She tried again and again to break it off with him, but he'd always come back. Finally, my aunt moved in with us, and my mother finally broke up with him." He starts getting emotional. "Then one night he broke in and tied my mother, aunt, sister, brother up all in the basement. He shot them all in front of my mother. Then he shot her and killed himself, leaving a note that she would never leave him again. I was away at college." He started to sob. "This is how my mother's friend learned she has a haunted quadruple murder-suicide scene in her basement. She moved out a year later." So what do you guys think?
Oh my gosh. That one's probably the spookiest so far. It's also depressing.
Yes. So I have one, guys. What I saw on the country road. While in university, I loved finding snakes. I was a biology student. So from herpetology club showed me this road that he would cruise for snakes. Cruising is when you drive slowly down old back roads after dark looking for snakes that have slithered onto the warmer roads to heat up. The road we took was about 4 miles and we had around 4 houses on its entirety. We had taken a few laps on this road. We were making our final pass. There are 2 houses near the beginning of the road, one at the end and one near the middle. We were getting close to the center house when we see movement on the left side of the road. There are lots of animals obviously on this road, so we weren't surprised to see this. However, what shoots out is this kid, probably around 8 or 9, in torn blue jeans and ripped dark t-shirt. He takes one look at us, and his face is a mix of fear and pain. He looked back really quickly from where he had come from and booked it across the road. The guy I'm with gets out of the car chasing to see if he's alright, and I pull the car up to a point where the boy went into the woods. I'm starting to get out of the car when my friend walks quickly back from the trail and just says, "Let's go, now." We hop in the car and tear out of there. He says there's a graveyard about 10 yards into the woods and there are 5 gravstones with the same death date. They all had the same last name, and one was a boy who was 9. No, we never came back to the rest of the summer to that road. We usually would go out once or twice a week. The next year, when my friend had graduated, I took my girlfriend out to that road. We had gone early to try and find different types of snakes. Different snakes tend to move at different points of dusk night. We got to the house near the graveyard, and there's 3 men doing some yard work. I rolled down the window, explained what I was doing, and asked them about the graveyard. Apparently their dad's brother's family had all died when their space heater caught fire around 20 years ago. I kept pushing and asking about it, and they told me the firemen, or whoever does it, had found all the bodies in the rubble except for the youngest son, but they assumed he was too far burned. I asked if they had a little brother, and the 200-pound man said he was the youngest. When I gave the description of the kid, I saw they all went white. They have individually seen the kid I was talking about, and he always runs to the gravesite. I've never been down that road again.
So what do you think?
That's probably the spookiest yet, boy. Alright, Wario, seems like you're up, boy.
Alright, it's my turn to spook you all. Mine is probably the scariest. Has to do with radios.
Radios?
Radios. Okay, here we go. So, who turned on the radio? When I was about 10 or 12, I don't really remember, I had an odd experience. At the time, I was sharing a room with my sister. We had lofted beds, and I slept on the top bunk. We had this stereo, and when you would press the button to turn it on, it would click, and a red light would pop up. Our beds were on the side of the room, and the stereo was on a desk on the opposite side. One night, I was woken up by the click sound and the stereo makes when the power button is pressed. I recognized the sound and sat up in bed. I looked over at the stereo and the light blinks on. I look over at my sister and she's fast asleep. Her bed was under mine, but perpendicular, so I could see the top half of her from my bed. The stereo is playing that white noise when it isn't on a specific station. Suddenly I can hear someone saying, "away," coming from the stereo. Just one word, "away." First it starts off and gradually gets louder until it becomes a yell. "Away! Away! Away!" It took about 10 to 15 seconds probably to build up to the yell. Then it died back down to a whisper. I thought it was a dream. I was frozen out of fear. I thought this had to be my imagination. I tried telling myself that during the whole thing. I had almost convinced myself of it until it stopped. The voice died away, and the stereo went back to static, and then I heard the click, and the light turned off. I was positive I wasn't dreaming. The ending click, I stared at the stereo for a few moments, too freaked to move. I went back to my sister, and she was still asleep. I finally lay back down, covered myself with sheets, and willed myself back to sleep. I consider myself a rational person, but I had no rational explanation for this. Freakiest stuff that has ever happened to me. So what do you guys think?
That's creepy. Yeah, dude, what the frick? What the frick?
Alright. I think that's everybody.
I wasn't creeped out. This is lame.
I can't sleep tonight.
It's fine, Plush Trap. You have your dad.
Yup, bro. Get over here. Okay.
Okay. It seems like that was all the spooky stories. How about you guys in the comments rate? Leave your ratings below on each story. Mine, Luigi's, Baldi's, Isabel's, Scrap Baby's, and Alice's, and Wario's. There may be another one, but I don't know. You called me Allison. Oh, I'm sorry. But anyways, have a great Halloween, guys, even though it's technically past. Goodbye.